Welcome to Joe's Astrology. And astrology is the real matrix. So, in the movie The Matrix, when they refer to the matrix as being a prison for the mind, it's a place that we're in that controls us. Or you could think of in the movie The Matrix, Neo was a slave to the system, going to work every day, 9 to 5, etc. You know the whole story. That's not the real Matrix. The Matrix didn't go deep enough, and many people are still in this state of mind. I was partially there at one point, and probably maybe slightly still am, where we feel as if we are imprisoned, and we realize that at first we realize that we are prisoners to the system that we live in. But if you go a little bit deeper, and when you really begin to study astrology, and when I say study astrology, I mean actually become an astrologer and read charts and see in real life and gain real astrological experience, you see that it is true that we live in a prison. And even if you come to this awareness, I do think, I've done a video on this, that that's one of the purposes of studying astrology and spirituality, is that you gain more free will. And in some ways, I believe this is true, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But in many other ways, I don't think you really release yourself from the prison. And what I mean by that, if we take the astrology, so if you're new to astrology, this video isn't going to be for you. I'd go watch some basic astrology videos. You might not understand this, but if you understand the birth chart, so you have your birth chart and you have planets in certain houses, and let's say they are delineating certain experiences, they are delineating certain perspectives that you may have. So I said experiences, perspectives that you may have, maybe people that you run into, people that you associate with. They could describe your passions, your personality, work that you do, your interests. And these things are the prison that you're in. And the thing is, most people don't want to most people don't want to get rid of those things. Like, for example, most people like their personality. For the most part, they like themselves, so they don't want to change that. Most people, let's say they have a affinity towards religion, they don't want to change that. They don't want to. They don't, even if you can say whatever, all of the things you can say about religion, they enjoy the aspects of religion. Maybe they enjoy going to church. Maybe they enjoy praying, etc. And they don't want to. They don't want to get rid of that. So much so that if you try to change their religion or try to change anything about their notion of religion, they will fight you. And it's not just religion. You can look at me and say, I have this affinity towards athletics, and specifically tennis. And now I have, you could say I have gotten away from athletics in the sense of watching sports. But then again, have I really? Because we could say, I've gotten away from watching football, gotten away from watching baseball, gotten away from watching basketball. But all of that kind of transferred into new sports. So then it was tennis. And even now, to a certain degree, I've gotten away from watching tennis. But what I haven't gotten away from is completely, I haven't gotten away from playing sports, and I probably never will. And I even find myself kind of going back to sports that I used to play occasionally, even now. And when I say gotten away from watching sports, I still watch a lot of tennis. Mostly, now most of it's when I'm maybe busy eating or like looking for something to watch while I'm eating, something like that. I don't actually sit down. I usually don't really sit down and watch a whole match uh, just for entertainment's sake. So you could say I've gotten away from that, but I'm still here in, past 40 years old, still heavily involved in sports. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that that can be considered a prison. That it's actually a prison that I have realized through awareness that maybe I was spending too much time on that and not enough time on other things. And even then, with that awareness and experimenting with different things, not if I really think about my life and examine my life, still not much has changed overall. And that is what I mean by astrology. Your birth chart is a prison. Another example may be you've heard the term codependency, and you have a lot of people that may have affinity towards being codependent, or they may always find themselves in relationships, or in a relationship, or a long-term relationship, and they may not really see this as being a prison, but compare that to the person who's always alone or has more alone time. From his perspective, that is a prison, and then vice versa, from their perspective, that is a prison. So they may this idea of being in a relationship, they think it's normal because there's a lot of people doing it, etc. And but again, it's, if you look at their natal chart, they like it, they enjoy it. And what tends to happen is, let's say something happens in life and they do break up, to get a divorce, separation, etc. They more likely than not will attract another person very quickly and be in a relationship again. Versus the person who has more of the tendency towards being alone may get into relationships, separate, divorce, and then go through a long period of being alone again. And the person may even admit that they enjoy it, and they can't get away from it, but still they can't get away from it. It's almost like essentially we're in a trance, and that's part of the prison is this trance that we're in. The trance being the astrology, the natal chart that can constantly has influence over us. Now, some people may say, well, there was a long period of time where I felt as if I was in this space, and then something changed. You might think of a person finally meets somebody. Like I know somebody that I think he had relationships, but for the most part, he was fairly single and very focused on his career for most of his life. And then he met somebody later in life and got married and had a couple kids. I haven't talked to him since. So you may think, well, that prison that he was in, he was released from that prison. We see this as well, that at certain times in the life in the astrology, you can be released from one prison and placed in another. So that is what I would say, that is what happened there. Released from one prison and placed in another. Now, this is a very dynamic prison. This isn't like when I say prison, like it's a prison with bars, like you're in a prison cell. It's a very dynamic prison, and some people wouldn't even say it's fair to call it a prison. So we do see these changes in the birth chart where we're being released from certain areas and given maybe like new life, so to speak. And I also wanted to mention, let's just say for fun that, because you've heard this idea of freeing yourself and going off grid. So let's say you come to this conclusion that the prison is the matrix and the system coming down on you. So you want to free yourself, and you go off grid. And you go off grid. First of all, if that does happen, more likely than not, it's in your natal chart. So it's already, again, something that you like to do, something that you maybe the idea of having your own land, being a farmer, being a loner, etc. something like that is going to be in your natal chart. So you're already following your natal chart. Again, you think in your mind, because you're not aware of astrology, you think you might be going through this phase. I'm freeing myself from the matrix by going off grid. And so you go off grid, you have no idea about astrology. And remember, we're all connected. We're all connected, and you go off grid, and then sometime during this time, you build up everything, you build up your life, and then the government comes along and says, "We're taking this land. We're taking this land. We own it, and we're going to give you $300,000 for it." And it's like $200,000 more than what you paid for it. It's a generous offer, and they're not. It's not an offer. They're taking it, and you're getting all upset about it, and this and that. Now, see, you got to remember, this is a prison. That will be in your natal chart as well, and you can complain about the government and this and that, but we're all connected. So they have their own natal chart. They have their own astrology that's being activated. Yours is being activated, and you go through this change. You come back to society, and all that's explained in your natal chart. So without this awareness, you would think that this is the government, this is the system, this is the real matrix. But no, the real matrix is astrological, it's spiritual, it's energetic. Now, the only real way to escape the matrix is to free your mind. And I think this is very much misinterpreted as well. So let's take the idea of freeing your mind. And essentially, we're talking about freeing your mind from not just the world, but from your astrology. And this means that you will physically still exist within the paradigm of your astrology. You still will have to act the part. If you do not act the part, you will suffer. And this is what I've noticed through my own life and through my astrological work. You cannot actually free yourself physically from the matrix. It's not possible. Now, you may go through, like I said, you may go through a time where you have some good fortune and you do go off, let's say you go off grid successfully and you enjoy it, it's something you want to do, and you say, screw that astrology stuff, and you get away with it. Or whatever you're getting away with that I would consider your good fortune in your astrology. Go for it. I'm not knocking you for that. I think that's something you can do. That's you're going with the flow. You're going with your astrology still. So I'm not denying that that's not something that can or should be done, or shouldn't be taken advantage of. But the only thing you really can do is free your mind. You never really physically free yourself. And even when I say free your mind, I think this is misinterpreted in the sense that you can walk around and not play. You can walk around and not play the part. And essentially, when you see people do this, they'll act funny. They'll act funny. They'll talk about things that are way out there and out of pocket. I've done this. Many people who would consider themselves woke would do this, right? The woke movement. And there's really, in the end, this cannot be done. It's self-sabotage. It's self-sabotage. It's really what it comes down to. Because again, you can only free your mind, and by freeing your mind, it's inside your mind. There will be no one to discuss this with. Like right now, I'm having this discussion with myself. Essentially, I'm having this discussion with myself. When I get done making this video, I'll probably go read a book. Someone calls me, I'll have a discussion that has nothing to do with this. Tomorrow, I'll go do something. I'll go do my normal routine, talk to the people that I normally talk to, and we will talk about this. We won't talk about this at all. And if I attempt to talk about this, it will backfire. And even if it doesn't backfire right away, most likely they'll be playing a game with me and lying to me and just kind of like people pleasing me. So I get when I want to get into this space, this idea of freeing my mind, what I can do, I can make videos like this and accept that I am talking to myself. I can turn this off and I could go meditate, and I can go into my mind and think about whatever I want to think about, because now I'm aware of this. I can think about how can I create things that I want to create and do things that I want to do, and chances are they will be within the astrological paradigm of my birth chart. And even if they aren't, they will have to be confined to my mind. Meaning, I'm not going to go out there and create something like if we take my astrological birth chart, I'm not going to go out into the world and set up a plan to build a hotel. And it's not in my birth chart. And even if it was, and it's so, and like considering my life, even if there was potential for that in the birth chart, I'm not going to go out and do that. That's going to take 30. Me considering my situation, my birth chart, we're talking about a speculation period of about 20 to 30 years. And am I going to actually do that? Probably not. So, of course, when I say you're freeing your mind and you can go and create things, it doesn't mean that you can go and create anything physical in the world, because other people are involved. And they're always going to be involved. Even if you think that, well, there's government regulations and things like that involved. Well, what do you want to go back to 400 years ago when there was more land, less people? You're not building a hotel. It's not even. It's not possible. There's no hotel building. Not only is it not physically, it might not be physically possible. You don't have the manpower. You don't have the tools. You don't have the. There's no money to just go buy these things. You don't have the infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always that. Of course, there's always the infinite possibility we're talking about. Maybe 50 years in the future, hundreds of years in the future, and that's a totally different discussion than what I'm really talking about here. Really, the only way you're going to free yourself is to free your mind, and you're going to free your mind, free yourself within your own mind. Writing is an example. Art, any kind of art form really is a amazing example of freeing your mind. You do your physical duty. It's like the whole saying. Well, I don't know what the saying is, but it's like doing your daily due diligence, and then when you have your free time, you can do whatever you want. And to the ability that you have to free yourself, to free your mind, the more to the degree you have the ability to free your mind, that's the degree of artistic expression that you will have. You see some people, they'll get off work and they'll go watch the basketball game, or they'll go watch the television show, or maybe go to the bar and have some drinks with their buddies. And they'll do this on a regular routine-like basis, versus someone who takes some of their free time and creates something artistic. That is a extreme element of freeing your mind. You're not under this false notion that you have to go and hang out with your coworkers, that you have to watch the TV show. This, I think, is a positive expression of freeing your mind from the matrix. So if you have any comments, feel free to leave your comments down below. You can email me. I do astrology readings. If you're interested in astrology, I have lots of videos on astrology. Feel free to contact me about astrology as well. And I hope you have a great day.